Ben Carson is no ordinary figure in the realm of American public life. He distinguishes himself as a man of extraordinary talent and determination. Born into humble beginnings in Detroit, Michigan, he faced considerable adversity growing up. Raised by a single mother who emphasized the importance of education despite their challenging circumstances, Carson learned early on the value of hard work and perseverance. His journey embodies the quintessential American dream, showcasing how grit and intellect can lead to transformative success. Carson's academic prowess became evident during his youth. With a keen interest in science, he excelled in school and earned a scholarship to Yale University, where he received his undergraduate degree in psychology. However, it was his love for medicine that ultimately led him to the prestigious University of Michigan Medical School. There, he honed his skills and developed his passion for neurosurgery. Following medical school, Carson emerged as one of the youngest directors of pediatric neurosurgery at Johns Hopkins Hospital at just 33 years old, a remarkable achievement that garnered nationwide attention. During his time at Johns Hopkins, Carson became renowned for groundbreaking surgical techniques that revolutionized the field. His most notable operation involved separating conjoined twins who were joined at the back of the head, an exceedingly complex procedure that captured global media coverage and highlighted his exceptional talent. These high-stakes surgeries not only showcased his surgical expertise, but also offered hope to countless families facing insurmountable medical challenges. Carson's contributions were recognized with numerous awards and honors throughout his medical career, establishing him as a leading authority in neurosurgery. But Carson did not confine his influence solely to the operating room, that he is also an accomplished author, having penned several books, including Gifted Hands, which chronicles his life story, and personal philosophy. This memoir resonated with readers around the world and further solidified his reputation as a motivational speaker. His messages often center on the importance of education, responsibility, and faith, values he believes are essential for personal and societal success. In 2015, Carson made a bold shift from medicine to politics, announcing his candidacy for the Republican nomination for President of the United States. His campaign was characterized by an emphasis on conservative principles, healthcare reform, and an unwavering commitment to individual liberties. While he may not have secured the nomination, Carson's political engagements underscored his dedication to advocating for policies aligned with his values. An outspoken critic of the status quo, especially regarding welfare dependency and government overreach. Carson captures the attention of an audience eager for alternatives to mainstream liberal ideologies that he transitioned into a prominent role within the political landscape when he was appointed as Secretary of Housing and Urban Development (HUD) under President Donald Trump. His tenure in this position focused on addressing issues related to poverty and urban development, continuing his lifetime commitment to improving the lives of others. With an impressive blend of medical expertise, literary insight, and political acumen, Ben Carson stands as a dynamic figure whose insights resonate across various sectors that he represents a voice for many Americans who yearn for practical solutions rather than partisan rhetoric. His speeches often elicit enthusiastic responses due to their compelling narrative style and ability to connect with audiences on both personal and ideological levels. Ben Carson prepared to address the crowd at a recent speaking engagement. There was palpable excitement in the air. His reputation as a skilled orator preceded him, attracting individuals from all walks of life eager to hear his perspective. The audience included young professionals, seasoned activists, and individuals looking for a source of inspiration amidst turbulent political climates. Those familiar with Carson's story anticipated that he would deliver messages rooted deeply in personal experience while simultaneously addressing broader societal issues. With that anticipation came a sense of unity within the crowd, fueled by shared values and collective aspirations for what they envisioned America could be. The lights dimmed slightly as the event commenced, casting an inviting glow across the stage where Carson was set to speak. Each attendee leaned forward with expectation coursing through them. They were ready to absorb whatever wisdom he had to impart. However, little did they know that this event would soon take an unexpected twist. Just as Carson began articulating his beliefs about personal responsibility and community empowerment, tenets that have guided him throughout his journey, an interruption threatened to disrupt this momentous occasion. This introduction serves not only to delve into Ben Carson's captivating narrative, but also frames the significant context in which his speech takes place. It exemplifies how his life story has shaped his views and how those views resonate within a broader national narrative marked by division yet rich with opportunities for dialogue and understanding. With anticipation building among the audience, the stage was set for both inspiration and confrontation, elements that would soon unfold as the event progressed. As the lights dimmed in the expansive auditorium, a palpable sense of anticipation washed over the audience. The venue, a grand convention center adorned with banners celebrating conservative values and ideals, was filled to capacity. Rows of eager faces stretched out as far as the eye could see, each individual representing a unique tapestry of backgrounds, experiences, and aspirations. This was not just another political gathering. It was a confluence of hearts and minds united by a shared desire for change. In one section, young professionals dressed in crisp suits and blouses whispered animatedly among themselves, exchanging thoughts about Carson's previous speeches and the impact they had on their own lives. Nearby, seasoned activists, many of whom had followed Carson's career closely since his rise in politics, nodded knowingly. They carried signs emblazoned with slogans like empowerment through education and faith in action, illustrating their commitment to the principles Carson espouses. A few families sat together toward the front, children wide-eyed with curiosity about who would soon take the stage, their parents eager to instill in them a sense of civic responsibility. The atmosphere crackled with energy. A mixture of hope and urgency permeated the air. Attendees were not merely there to listen. They were there to engage in a dialogue that transcended partisan divides. Conversations swirled around key topics such as education reform, healthcare access, and community empowerment, issues that resonated deeply within this crowd. Each person present carried their own narrative of struggle and triumph, which added layers to the collective experience unfolding in that room. As Carson supporters gathered outside before entering the venue, chants echoed off the walls. "We believe in America." Their enthusiasm was infectious. It reverberated through every corridor of the convention center. This event represented more than just a speech. It was an opportunity for like-minded individuals to come together and affirm their beliefs amidst a turbulent political landscape. Yet lurking beneath this vibrant atmosphere was an undercurrent of tension, a recognition that not everyone shared their views on governance or societal progress. Security personnel monitored the crowd with keen eyes, ready to respond should any dissent arise. Rumors had circulated that counter-protesters might attempt to disrupt Carson's address. Individuals who opposed his views on welfare reform and government intervention, heightening emotions within the audience. While many attendees remained focused on their shared ideals, there is an unmistakable awareness that this gathering could be challenged by those who held opposing beliefs. As the minutes ticked down toward Carson's scheduled appearance, murmurs rippled through the crowd regarding what he might say, what solutions he would propose for pressing issues facing their communities. Would he address concerns about rising inflation or talk about educational disparities? These questions hung heavily in the air as attendees settled into their seats and prepared for what they hoped would be an inspiring experience. The stage itself stood proudly at the front of the auditorium, an imposing structure flanked by bright lights that illuminated a sleek podium, engraved with Carson's name. Behind it loomed a large screen displaying images from his past, snapshots from his medical career juxtaposed against moments from his political journey. This visual narrative served as both a reminder of his remarkable accomplishments and an invitation for listeners to engage with his message. With each passing moment, excitement escalated among those seated as they imagined what wisdom Carson would impart this time around. The sound system crackled briefly before settling into silence, drawing attention back to the stage where anticipation hung thickly in the air. Suddenly, Applause erupted as Carson made his entrance through a side door, greeted by thunderous cheers from enthusiastic supporters. He radiated confidence as he approached the podium. A figure who had surmounted significant challenges throughout his life, yet remained deeply connected to those he aimed to inspire. Yet even amid this celebratory welcome lay an edge of uncertainty. The uninvited tension stemming from potential opposition loomed ominously like storm clouds on a clear day. A.S. Carson raised his hand for silence and began addressing the audience members who had come seeking clarity and direction on crucial issues. Facing America today, little did anyone know that this moment would soon be disrupted by an unexpected confrontation. The juxtaposition of excitement and apprehension created an engaging backdrop for what was poised to become an unforgettable evening. A night where ideas would clash amidst passionate beliefs, but also opportunity for understanding would emerge from conflict. With every heartbeat echoing throughout that gathering space, it became evident that this event was more than just another speech. It was part of a larger conversation about America's future, one full of promise but fraught with challenges requiring courage and resilience from all involved. As the thunderous applause subsided, Ben Carson took his place behind the podium, the bright lights casting a warm glow over him. He exuded a calm confidence that instantly connected him to the audience. A community gathered not only to hear his words, but to share in a broader vision for America's future, with his signature blend of personal anecdotes and principled arguments. Carson launched into the themes that have defined his career and continue to inspire countless individuals seeking a path to success. Tonight, we gather to reaffirm our belief in the power of self-reliance. He began, his voice resonating throughout the room. He spoke passionately about the importance of individual responsibility, illustrating how each person has the capacity to shape their own destiny through hard work and determination. Carson's own life story, from blossoming in a challenging environment to becoming a celebrated neurosurgeon, served as a powerful testament to this theme. He emphasized that while external circumstances can influence one's life, it is ultimately the choices individuals make that determine their outcomes. Carson seamlessly transitioned into a discussion about education, a critical pillar he believes is paramount for personal and societal growth. Education is not just a privilege, it is a right, and one that should be accessible to every child across this great nation, he asserted. With poignant examples from his own upbringing, he underscored how his mother's commitment to education paved the way for his success. We must invest in our children's future, he urged, advocating for reforms that prioritize quality education for all, especially those in underprivileged communities. The audience nodded in agreement, many relating personally to his call for change within the educational system. Drawing upon his experience as both a medical professional and a public servant, Carson highlighted the healthcare landscape as another crucial area needing reform. He spoke about the need for innovative solutions that put patients first, describing how bureaucracy often hampers effective care. We need to empower individuals by offering them more choices, he said, referring to policy changes that encourage competition and quality improvement within healthcare. He articulated these points. It was clear that Carson aimed to challenge the status quo, while advocating for solutions that consider both individual rights and community needs. At the heart of his address, Carson championed the importance of values in society. It is values that bind us together. They're the compass by which we navigate our lives, he stated firmly. The values he referred to, faith, family, integrity, and respect, serve as a foundation upon which he believes America must rebuild its social fabric. Drawing applause from the crowd, he outlined how these principles could guide discussions on various societal issues, from economics to community relations. When we live according to these values, we foster a culture of respect and understanding, he contended, reminding the audience that prosperity arises not just from policies, but from the commitment to uphold these shared ideals. Carson didn't shy away from acknowledging the divisions within society, recognizing that polarization can stifle progress. But instead of fostering despair, he implored his listeners to remain hopeful and engaged. when we listen to one another and treat each other with dignity, even those who disagree with us, we can build bridges rather than walls," he encouraged, drawing attention to the power of dialogue and mutual respect. As he neared the conclusion of his speech, Carson expertly wove together his themes of self-reliance, education, healthcare reform, and values into a cohesive vision for America's future. The crowd leaned in closely as he charged them with a mission. It is up to each of us to be catalysts for change, not just by voicing our beliefs, but by putting them into action. His words ignited a sense of duty among attendees, inspiring them to take ownership of their role in creating a better society. He concluded with an impassioned call for unity and determination, admonishing everyone present to strive for excellence while never losing sight of their moral compass. As he stepped back from the podium after delivering a speech rich with substance and fervor, applause erupted once more, echoing off the convention center walls as it grew louder and more fervent. With this powerful introduction, Carson captivated an audience eager for inspiration. He effectively captivated not just their minds but their hearts, inspiring many to envision themselves as drivers of change within their communities. Little did they know that shortly after this impassioned salutation laid an unexpected confrontation that would test both Carson's resolve and the unity of those gathered before him. Just as the applause from Carson's rousing speech began to fade, an unexpected tension surged through the auditorium. Cutting through the celebratory atmosphere, a figure emerged from a side aisle. The unmistakable silhouette of a liberal activist, clad in a colorful protest t-shirt emblazoned with slogans that spoke against the very ideals Carson had just championed. With an air of defiance, the activist strode purposefully toward the stage, drawing gasps and murmurs from those nearby. "Stop ignoring our reality," the activist shouted, their voice breaking through the remnants of Carson's conclusion. The audience turned in shock, bewilderment etched across many faces as they processed this sudden disruption. The activist's statement was met with a mix of confusion and outrage. "Your policies harm marginalized communities. We need real change, not empty rhetoric." Gasps rippled through the crowd, followed by an immediate wave of defensive murmurs among Carson's supporters. Some attendees shouted back in support of Carson, while others called for silence, trying to regain control over the escalating situation. The atmosphere shifted dramatically. What had been an evening filled with shared hope now teetered on the brink of chaos. Carson paused mid-sentence, his expression shifting from surprise to calm determination. He stood tall behind the podium, embodying a sense of composure that resonated even in this unexpected moment. The audience watched intently as he absorbed the disruption. While some were eager to defend their champion against this interruption, many others felt a flicker of curiosity about how he would respond. "Let's hear what this person has to say," Carson said with surprising grace as he raised his hand slightly to signal for silence. His voice was steady and inviting rather than dismissive. It carried a note of respect amid the tension building around him. "I believe in dialogue and understanding, so I invite you to share your concerns." This response elicited mixed reactions from the audience. A blend of applause from some who appreciated Carson's willingness to engage and boos from others who felt this was an affront to their gathering. The activists seized this opportunity for attention and continued passionately, outlining grievances against policies they claimed disproportionately affected low-income communities and people of color. "Your approach to healthcare and education is neglectful," the activist continued, eyes blazing with fervor. "You talk about self-reliance while ignoring systemic barriers that prevent people from achieving it. We need solutions that address these issues head-on." As these words echoed in the auditorium, some audience members nodded in agreement, while others shouted back insults or expressions of disapproval. The cacophony intensified. It was clear that emotions were running high on both sides. In this charged environment, it became evident that Carson was poised to respond thoughtfully rather than reactively. He took a measured breath and addressed the activist directly. "I acknowledge your concerns," he began calmly, looking directly at them while articulating his points clearly for everyone to hear. But we must also recognize that progress is made when we focus on empowering individuals rather than fostering a culture of dependency. His articulation created ripples in the crowd. Supporters cheered while dissenters shook their heads in dismay or disbelief at his stance. Carson continued to emphasize personal responsibility and community empowerment, principles he believed could bridge divides rather than deepen them. Every American deserves opportunities, he stated firmly but gently, striving to maintain respect for differing viewpoints while reinforcing his own message about self-reliance and values as vital components for genuine progress. As he spoke, tensions within the room began to ebb slightly. Some audience members shifted their focus back toward him as they listened intently to his reasoning and perspective on complex societal challenges. Yet even amid this unfolding dialogue, there remained an undeniable current of unrest, an acknowledgement that discussions surrounding these contentious issues often evoke deep emotions and strong reactions. Eventually, security personnel moved closer but were careful not to escalate tensions further. They understood that navigating this moment required diplomacy over force. Many in attendance remained riveted by how Carson handled himself under pressure. His ability to confront opposition without succumbing to anger or divisiveness inspired admiration among those who valued civility in political discourse. As he wrapped up his response directed at the activist, one infused with calls for unity rather than division. He made it clear that constructive dialogue should be prioritized over conflict if true progress was desired, with both sides still reeling from emotions swirling within that gathering space. The moments following were charged with anticipation. Many wondered how this disruption would affect not only Carson's address, but also broader conversations about America's future amidst growing polarization. The seeds planted during this confrontation held promise, not just for understanding within that room, but also for fostering compassion beyond their assembly. A reminder that even in disagreement lies potential for growth if approached with respectful engagement instead of hostility that in the face of disruption. Ben Carson's response was an embodiment of poise and resilience, showcasing his adeptness in handling volatile situations with grace. The activist shout reverberated through the auditorium. Carson transitioned seamlessly from his speech to this unexpected challenge, demonstrating a blend of composure and strategic rhetorical skills that would ultimately shape the audience's perception of both him and the moment. That Carson's first instinct was not to dismiss or belittle the interruption, but to invite dialogue, a rhetorical choice that immediately set a tone of respect rather than confrontation. "Let's hear what this person has to say," he stated, his voice steady and inviting. By doing so, he diffused potential tension, signaling to the audience that he valued open communication and differing viewpoints. This approach not only established him as a leader willing to engage, but also emphasized his belief in discourse as a means of understanding. The crowd, caught off guard by this graciousness in the face of opposition, began to pivot from shock to intrigue. His demeanor remained calm throughout the interaction, which played a significant role in calming the room. Carson did not raise his voice or resort to indignation. Instead, he maintained eye contact with both the activist and his audience. This connection fostered an atmosphere where listeners felt heard and acknowledged. Key aspects when navigating politically charged conversations: his tranquil presence contrasted sharply with the agitation rippling through some segments of the audience, serving as an anchor for those who felt uneasy about the disruption. As he transitioned into addressing the activist's concerns directly, Carson employed a rhetorical strategy that involved acknowledging feelings while steering toward constructive discussion. "I acknowledge your concerns," he said thoughtfully, direct yet careful not to undermine or invalidate the activist's frustrations. This acknowledgement served dual purposes. It showed empathy towards dissenting voices while allowing him to reposition the conversation toward solutions rather than conflict. Carson took care to frame his responses within personal narratives and broader principles rather than policy jargon, another effective rhetorical strategy that allowed him to connect on an emotional level. Drawing from his own experiences, overcoming hardship, and advocating for self-reliance echoed throughout his earlier speech. He articulated how personal empowerment is essential for societal progress. But we must also recognize that progress is made when we focus on empowering individuals rather than fostering a culture of dependency, he emphasized. This statement had multifaceted implications. It underscored his core beliefs regarding personal responsibility while simultaneously challenging prevailing narratives around systemic issues without dismissing them outright. B. Why separating individual empowerment from systemic barriers. Carson struck a delicate balance that invited agreement around shared values despite differences on how best to achieve them. Throughout this exchange, Carson's calmness appeared infectious as whispers of admiration trickled through sections of supportive audience members who previously reacted defensively during the disruption. Many began nodding along with his points while watching him handle adversity with composure, an illustration of effective leadership under pressure, one that reinforced their faith in him. Additionally, Carson capitalized on moments during these interactions where he could subtly redirect focus back toward unity rather than division. His repeated references to common goals, every American deserves opportunities, reinforced collective aspirations, which resonated deeply within an audience already yearning for connection amid political polarization. WY framing challenges within a context of shared humanity rather than partisanship or blame. He fostered goodwill even among those who may have come into conflict with some aspects of his messaging. AS security personnel moved discreetly closer out of concern for escalating tensions, but observed without intervening directly. They recognized Carson was adeptly managing both sides by focusing more on bridging understanding than fueling conflict. BY wrapping up this portion of dialogue with a reminder about prioritizing constructive conversation over hostility. When we listen to one another and treat each other with dignity, even those who disagree, we can build bridges rather than walls. Carson effectively transformed what could have been a moment laden with division into an opportunity for reconciliation and growth. The impact of Carson's composed demeanor during this encounter reverberated throughout the auditorium long after he concluded his remarks directed at the activist. Attendees appeared inspired not only by their champion's eloquence, but also by witnessing how respectful engagement can manifest progress even amidst disagreement. AS murmurs settled into applause, resonating through hearts renewed by hope. Their collective experience shifted significantly due to Carson's exemplary handling of such an emotionally charged situation. What had begun as chaos turned into reaffirmation. There was potential for understanding amid discord if approached earnestly, and that realization echoed profoundly within both supportive advocates and skeptical critics alike present in that gathering space. As Ben Carson addressed the activist with calm resolve, the audience's reactions shifted dramatically, creating a complex emotional landscape that rippled through the convention center. Initially stunned by the disruption, many supporters of Carson found themselves caught in a whirlwind of conflicting feelings. Their anticipation for an inspiring speech had been abruptly transformed into uncertainty as they grappled with the activist's heated accusations. The palpable tension hung in the air as attendees exchanged glances, some filled with disbelief, while others instinctively rallied behind Carson. The crowd responded to the activist's boldness with mixed signals. Some gasped in shock, while others murmured words of disapproval or frustration. These reactions revealed deep-rooted emotions tied to their commitment to Carson and their beliefs about the issues at hand. Yet as Carson maintained his composure and invited dialogue, a noticeable shift occurred among the audience members. His poised demeanor began to resonate with those who had initially reacted defensively. Many began to lean forward in their seats, curious about how he would navigate this unexpected challenge. This change in atmosphere was not lost on the room. Whispers of admiration started to circulate, reflecting a collective respect for how he handled the confrontation. As he articulated his points regarding self-reliance and empowerment, members of the audience began nodding along, Visibly warming to his responses, Carson's ability to acknowledge the activists' concerns without dismissing them created space for reflection. This approach encouraged even some skeptics in attendance to reconsider their positions and recognize that constructive dialogue might be more fruitful than outright confrontation. The activist statements had initially ignited anger within segments of the crowd who felt personally attacked or defensive regarding their beliefs. However, as Carson deftly steered the conversation towards unity and shared goals, this anger began to dissipate. Audience members who had been quick to voice dissent now found themselves engaged in a different kind of dialogue, one where they were not just affirming their own views, but were also recognizing common ground amid differing perspectives. With each rhetorical flourish from Carson that emphasized values such as opportunity and dignity, more people felt compelled to cheer and clap in support. The applause began as hesitant and sporadic, but quickly grew into something more powerful, an expression of solidarity not just for Carson, but also for a vision of America where dialogue could bridge divides rather than exacerbate them. Simultaneously, there were those who remained uneasy about Carson's response. Some activists near the front continued to express dissent, believing that acknowledging concerns wasn't enough. What they wanted were tangible commitments to change systemic issues affecting marginalized communities. Their voices occasionally punctuated moments of silence within the crowd, reminding everyone that not all viewpoints were reconciled simply through civil discourse. Amidst this dynamic interplay between support and dissent, security personnel remained vigilant but did not intervene, recognizing that the very essence of democratic expression was unfolding before them. They understood that such moments could either escalate or invite understanding, depending on how leaders like Carson navigated them. He concluded his remarks directed at the activists with a call for unity. When we listen to one another and treat each other with dignity, even those who disagree, we can build bridges rather than walls. The atmosphere shifted again. The audience responded with renewed applause. It was as if an unspoken agreement had formed. While not everyone may have agreed fully with Carson's views or policies, there was a growing recognition of his commitment to fostering discussions that included diverse voices. This moment reflected a broader truth about political discourse. The potential for transformation lies not only in policy debates, but also within interpersonal interactions where listening becomes paramount. As attendees continued to absorb what transpired before them, it became evident that many sought resolution through engagement rather than division, with lingering murmurs of approval and an air charged with possibility. It was clear that what began as chaos had evolved into an opportunity for growth, for both individuals within that auditorium and potentially for broader societal conversations outside its walls. The emotional aftermath of this encounter left an indelible mark on those present. They carried away not just admiration for Carson's leadership, but also an understanding that constructive engagement is vital amidst disagreement. A lesson learned through witnessing firsthand how one moment could shift perceptions and inspire hope even amid division. The incident during Ben Carson's speech serves as a poignant illustration of the current state of free speech and respectful discourse in a highly polarized climate. With political tensions running high across the United States, discussions on vital issues often devolve into confrontations rather than meaningful dialogue. The disruption caused by the activists highlighted not only the passionate divide between differing viewpoints, but also raised questions about how individuals navigate public discourse in an environment fraught with conflict. From the outset, the activists' outburst can be viewed as an expression of the fervent belief that many hold about being heard, especially those who feel marginalized or ignored by mainstream political narratives. This fervor reflects a growing sentiment among numerous citizens who regard their voices as essential in shaping societal change. The right to free speech is cherished in democratic societies, yet it often comes at a cost of navigating challenges associated with how and when that speech is expressed. Carson's response to the interruption exemplified how one can uphold free speech while also advocating for respect in discourse. By inviting the activists to share their concerns openly, he turned a moment of potential chaos into an opportunity for respectful engagement. This response demonstrated the importance of creating spaces where dialogue can occur without devolving into personal attacks or hostility. In today's contentious landscape, encouraging open conversations can lead to greater understanding even among opposing viewpoints, fostering an environment where solutions may emerge. However, Carson's approach also highlights the difficulties speakers face when confronting opposition to it. Is increasingly common for individuals, especially public figures, to encounter disruptions during speeches or events, demonstrating that advocacy can sometimes meet resistance in unexpected ways. Speakers find themselves balancing their message with the need to address discontent and dissenting opinions, all while maintaining credibility and authority. This confrontation illuminated another critical theme: the necessity for emotional intelligence in public speaking. Carson's composed demeanor not only calmed his supporters, but also signaled to dissenters that their perspectives were acknowledged. His skillful navigation of this moment speaks volumes about the importance of empathy in discourse. Listening actively and demonstrating respect for differing views fosters a culture where all participants feel valued and heard. Moreover, there are significant implications regarding how these dynamics play out among audience members themselves. Witnesses to such confrontations often find themselves reassessing their positions based on how leaders respond under pressure. During Carson's speech, many attendees began to shift their views as they observed his respectful engagement. This pivot indicates that thoughtful responses can transform an audience's perspective and encourage them to adopt more constructive approaches in their dialogues with others. Yet, despite Carson's exemplary handling of the situation, not all were satisfied with his message or method. Some audience members retained a sense of unease about what they perceived as insufficient attention given to systemic issues facing marginalized communities. Their reactions remind us that while free speech allows individuals to voice concerns openly, it also raises questions regarding whether such discourse leads to action or accountability within broader societal frameworks. In light of this incident, it becomes apparent that fostering an atmosphere conducive to meaningful exchange requires patience from both speakers and audiences alike. Engaging effectively across divides necessitates commitment from both sides to seek understanding over conflict, a challenge that many find difficult when emotions are higher. Stakes are perceived as equally pressing. Consequently, incidents like this serve as pivotal learning opportunities, not just for individuals involved, but for society at large. They challenge us to evaluate how we approach discussions on contentious topics and call us to develop skills for navigating disagreement respectfully and productively. As discussions around free speech continue to evolve, incidents such as this highlight that while passionate expressions of dissent are vital components of democracy, so too are considerations of respect and empathy in those exchanges. Political discourse doesn't have to remain a battleground. It can become a platform for collaborative searching for solutions to shared problems. Ultimately, Carson's handling of the interruption encapsulates the potential for civil engagement amid discord. The idea that even when tensions rise, opportunities exist for bridging gaps when individuals approach conversations with respect and an intent to listen. Current challenges reflect not just societal divisions, but also emphasize a collective responsibility toward fostering environments where dialogue thrives rather than falters, a goal that remains essential if we hope to heal divisions within our communities and address important issues together moving forward. In the immediate aftermath of Ben Carson's speech, reactions poured in from various channels, shaping the narrative surrounding the incident and revealing the deep divides in public opinion. Media outlets quickly picked up the story, framing Carson's confrontation with the activist as a significant moment of political theater that highlighted both the challenges of free speech and the complexities of public discourse in today's polarized climate. News articles began to surface within hours, analyzing not only Carson's measured response, but also the implications of the activist's interruption. Many headlines focused on phrases like Carson's composure under pressure or a clash of ideals at a pivotal moment, emphasizing how such incidents reveal broader societal tensions. Analysts weighed in on both sides, some praising Carson for his ability to maintain calm and engage with dissenters, while others criticized him for not fully addressing systemic issues raised by the activist. Social media erupted with discussions about the event. Hashtags related to Carson and the activist quickly trended on platforms like Twitter and Facebook, reflecting a spectrum of opinions. Supporters lauded Carson's diplomacy and called for more leaders to adopt similar tactics when faced with opposition. Finally, someone who knows how to handle dissent without resorting to anger, tweeted one supporter, garnering thousands of likes and retweets. Conversely, critics use social media to voice their dissatisfaction with how Carson managed the situation. Many felt that while he responded well in terms of decorum, he ultimately sidestepped deeper issues concerning marginalized communities that the activist had raised. It's great he invited dialogue, but what about concrete actions for real change? Read one post that gained traction among those who felt disillusioned by Carson's political positions that AS discussions unfolded online. Commentators noted a significant trend. Many people were reflecting not only on Carson's responses, but also examining their own beliefs regarding civil discourse. This moment sparked conversations about what it means to engage in respectful dialogue amid strong disagreements, a theme that resonated widely given the current political landscape. IN forums dedicated to political analysis. Users debated whether Carson's approach represented a meaningful shift toward more respectful engagement or if it was merely a temporary response aimed at diffusing immediate tension without addressing core issues that a podcast episode. Discussing the incident garnered attention as hosts dissected both perspectives, one highlighting Carson's potential as a unifying figure and another stressing the need for accountability in addressing systemic injustices. The audience present at the speech also had varying reactions in subsequent days. Many supporters expressed feelings of empowerment after witnessing how Carson handled adversity with grace. Some reported feeling inspired to engage more actively in community dialogues about contentious issues. If he can navigate a tough conversation like that, so can we, remarked one attendee during a local town hall meeting, demonstrating how moments like this can ripple outward into local engagements. On the other hand, attendees who aligned more closely with the activist perspective felt frustrated by what they perceived as missed opportunities for substantive dialogue. Their post-speech discussions often centered around organizing more active forms of protest or community outreach efforts aimed at raising awareness about systemic issues affecting marginalized populations. This duality showcased how responses to political events can lead individuals down markedly different paths, one toward engagement and another toward activism. Within this context, local news reports began surfacing that featured interviews with community leaders who sought to bridge these divides. Many emphasized that while disagreements are inevitable in today's discourse, there remains an urgent need for conversations that transcend mere rhetoric and seek lasting solutions to pressing societal concerns. Moreover, analysis from sociologists and communication experts began appearing in op-ed columns discussing how incidents like these reflect broader cultural trends regarding conflict resolution. They pointed out that as society grapples with polarizing views on various issues, from healthcare to social justice, the effectiveness of dialogue hinges on emotional intelligence and respect. A lesson vividly illustrated by Carson's handling of disruption during his speech. Ultimately, this incident became more than just an isolated event. It sparked wider discussions about free speech, respect in discourse, and the responsibilities inherent to public speaking within a fractured climate. AS media coverage continued alongside social media debates, and community conversations flourished. It became evident that moments of confrontation could serve as catalysts for greater understanding if approached thoughtfully. In examining these reactions collectively, both immediate and ongoing, it is clear that Ben Carson's encounter with dissent during his speech has not only impacted those directly involved, but has also invited society at large to reflect on its own commitment to fostering civil discourse amid a backdrop marked by division and disagreement. The lessons drawn from this incident underscore an essential truth. Respectful engagement is vital if we aim to heal divisions and work collaboratively toward common goals moving forward. The incident featuring Ben Carson and the activist during his speech provides a unique lens through which to examine his legacy as a public figure, particularly within conservative circles. Carson has long been revered for his remarkable journey from humble beginnings to becoming a celebrated neurosurgeon and influential political figure. This recent confrontation and his response to it reveal as much about the man himself as they do about the challenges he faces as a conservative voice in today's complex political landscape. Carson's approach during this pivotal moment reinforced his persona as a thoughtful leader who values discourse and respects differing opinions. His invitation for the activists to share their concerns demonstrated not only emotional intelligence, but also an understanding of the need for engagement in a world rife with division. This incident serves as a testament to his belief that respect and dialogue should be at the forefront of political conversations, marking him as an advocate for civility, a stance that many of his supporters admire. Among conservative audiences, Carson has often been viewed as a beacon of hope and a role model. His impressive career trajectory, coupled with his upbeat messages about self-reliance and empowerment, resonates deeply with individuals seeking inspiration. In a political climate where ideologies clash fiercely, his ability to remain composed amid conflict presents an image of strength that many conservatives appreciate. However, this incident also brings forward an important consideration. By embracing dialogue with dissenters, Carson may draw both praise and criticism from various factions within conservative circles. Supporters laud him for demonstrating grace under pressure, potentially attracting a broader audience that appreciates democratic engagement. On the other hand, critics may argue that acknowledging dissent can undermine conservative positions, an ongoing challenge for politicians balancing appreciation for free speech against maintaining party ideology. The conversation surrounding this incident opened up discussions on social media platforms, with many evaluating Carson's legacy in real time. Supporters emphasized how his respectfulness could serve as a model for future leaders navigating similar controversies, showcasing how he exemplifies what it means to be both principled and pragmatic. Twitter feeds filled with phrases like "a true leader" and "this is how you handle dissent" underscore the admiration he garners from those who value character alongside compelling rhetoric. Conversely, some members within more hardline conservative groups expressed discomfort with Carson's approach. They argued that engaging too openly with oppositional views may lead to misunderstandings of their core message or diminish the urgency of their advocacy on pressing issues like systemic injustice. This duality showcases the complexities of Carson's position. While he seeks to promote understanding and empathy, he must also contend with maintaining loyalty within factions of his base who may prefer direct confrontation over dialogue. Carson's responses during the incident also highlight a broader shift within conservative circles regarding engagement strategies. Traditionally, many conservative figures adopt adversarial stances when faced with protesters or dissent. However, Carson breaks from this mold by choosing to listen rather than dismiss outright. This poses questions for other leaders about the effectiveness of confrontational tactics versus those rooted in communication and mutual respect. Moreover, this moment reflects larger trends in political legacy, particularly how future generations will perceive leadership models amid crisis situations. By navigating complex emotional dynamics with poise, Carson is not merely reacting to an individual protest, but actively crafting narratives for what it means to govern responsibly in such divided times. His response allows audiences to reflect on their values and how they choose to engage with each other across ideological lines. Looking back at Carson's career, it's essential to recognize that each public encounter adds layers to his legacy. Through this incident, he reinforces his commitment to fostering meaningful conversations tailored towards addressing common challenges, and remains steadfast at emphasizing individual agency within systemic dialogues. Ultimately, the lasting impact of this encounter lies not solely in the immediate reactions it provoked, but also in its potential to catalyze changes within political discourse overall, by illustrating how one can tackle disagreement respectfully. Under challenging conditions, Carson continues to influence discussions regarding leadership styles within not just conservative circles, but across the wider political spectrum. As observers consider what this incident reveals about Ben Carson's enduring influence and legacy, it becomes clear that he stands as a unique representative of values traditionally held within conservatism, while also advocating for an approach rooted in empathy, an essential quality needed if society hopes to bridge its divisions in pursuit of common goals moving forward. The recent incident during Ben Carson's speech provides valuable insights into the importance of civility and resilience in political discourse. As we reflect on this event, several key takeaways emerge that not only highlight the significance of respectful engagement, but also underscore the power of maintaining composure in the face of opposition. First and foremost, Carson's ability to handle an unexpected confrontation with grace serves as a model for leaders everywhere, by inviting the activists to share their concerns and responding thoughtfully. He demonstrated that listening is an essential component of productive dialogue. In a world increasingly saturated with divisive rhetoric, this approach challenges us to prioritize understanding over hostility. Leaders at all levels can learn from Carson's example. Fostering an environment where diverse opinions are acknowledged can build bridges rather than walls. Moreover, this incident highlights the critical role that emotional intelligence plays in public discourse. Carson's calm demeanor amid chaos not only reassured his supporters, but also illustrated how respectful engagement can defuse tensions. The ability to remain composed, even when faced with challenging viewpoints, is crucial in today's political climate, where discussions often devolve into personal attacks rather than constructive conversations. By practicing empathy and emotional resilience, individuals can contribute positively to dialogues that might otherwise be fraught with conflict. In addition, the reactions from both supporters and critics in the aftermath of the speech underscore a broader societal need for reflection on the nature of free speech. While passionate expressions of dissent are vital to democratic engagement, they must be balanced with a commitment to civility and respect. The discussions that followed Carson's speech reveal a desire among many for leaders who can navigate contentious issues without sacrificing their core values. This moment calls on all of us, politicians, activists, and citizens alike, to consider how we express our beliefs while remaining open to dialogue. As we navigate our own political landscapes, it is essential to remember that each encounter provides an opportunity for growth and learning. The conversations sparked by this incident have prompted many individuals to reconsider their approaches to discussion and advocacy. Rather than viewing dissent as a threat, we can embrace it as a chance to engage with differing perspectives and strengthen our understanding of complex issues. Furthermore, the duality of responses from audiences present at the speech illustrates a fundamental truth. While there will always be disagreements, it is possible to seek common ground through respectful engagement. The divide between supporters who lauded Carson's approach and critics who felt he fell short in addressing systemic concerns exemplifies how varied perspectives can coexist within the same discourse. This highlights the potential for growth that exists when individuals are willing to explore different viewpoints without resorting to animosity. Ultimately, the incident serves as a reminder that resilience is not just about how we confront challenges, but also about how we engage with one another in our everyday lives. Each of us has the power to influence the tone of conversations in our communities by modeling respectful engagement and encouraging others to do the same. The lessons drawn from Carson's experience can inspire all of us to cultivate environments where dialogue thrives and solutions emerge from shared understanding. In conclusion, this moment encapsulates a critical juncture in political discussions today, urging us to reflect deeply on how we communicate and engage with one another. As we move forward from this incident, let us embrace civility as a guiding principle in our debates and conversations, recognizing that our collective progress depends on our ability to listen actively and engage constructively. The call to action is clear. Prioritize empathy over anger, seek understanding amid disagreement, and remember that resilient dialogue has the power to transform conflict into collaboration. by fostering environments where respect reigns supreme, we can contribute meaningfully to the national conversation and work together toward solutions that benefit all members of society. Ultimately, we are reminded that each interaction holds the potential for change. Let us commit ourselves to be agents of positive dialogue in every arena we inhabit moving forward.